bizarre reality. So what is life? Even today, even after being able to pull it apart and examine it through a microscope and in laboratories, science still does not have the definition for what is life, let alone the meaning of life, let alone what consciousness is in our bizarre reality. Life, because it's such a complex system of things, with so many interacting parts, each of which is essential, is really tough to make a definition. We live in a bizarre reality, which I will talk about here. I find this quote striking. For what we do as scientists, a definition of life is unnecessary. It's sort of like a lot of big questions in science. Where are we from? How did the universe get created? These are big questions that we'll probably never be able to solve. But not knowing what life is doesn't change our ability to engineer it. For me, this says it all. Science is great at pulling the puzzle apart and understanding a few of the pieces. They can rearrange them to create something quite marvelous, like inventions we can monetize and play with, which also changes our lives completely, like the iPhone. But the overall puzzle, even the question, what is life, is lost to them, is lost to us. Yes, they can look at it in its entirety, but still not have an answer. What does the puzzle actually represent? But life in its organic mechanized form can't be defined. What is consciousness, let alone what is life? Consciousness is part of life. It does not tell us what life is, but it certainly leads us toward a bizarre reality. The fact is that no one knows what consciousness is. On the other hand, science has known for a long time that nothing is more obvious and undeniable than the fact that you are conscious. In theory, everything else you think you know about the world could be an elaborate illusion cooked up to deceive you. At this point, present-day writers invariably invoke the Matrix, but your consciousness itself can't be illusionary. Yes, the world around you may not be real at all, and yet the one undeniable truth is consciousness itself. On the other hand, this most certain and familiar of phenomena obeys none of the usual rules of science. It doesn't seem to be physical, nor can it be observed, except from within, by the conscious person. It can't even really be described. Consciousness must be made up of some special immaterial stuff that didn't abide by the laws of nature. Some scientists presented their own sketch of a theory, arguing that certain neurons firing at certain frequencies might somehow be the cause of our inner awareness, though it is not clear how. Chalmers's zombie thought experiment is his attempt to show why the mechanical account is not enough, why the mystery of conscious awareness goes deeper than a purely material science can explain. The experiment hypothesized that if you were approached by me and my doppelganger, not knowing which was which, not even the most powerful brain scanner in existence could tell us apart. And the fact that one can even imagine this scenario is sufficient to show that consciousness can't just be made of ordinary physical atoms. So consciousness must somehow be something extra, an additional ingredient in nature. So what is consciousness according to my experience? Consciousness is everything at once. What do I mean? Consciousness is everything we are aware of at once. What is life? Well, all I can say is life is the vessel for conscious reasoning, but it is not consciousness itself. Many death experiences, people who have died and have been revived after some time has passed, will tell you they still experienced a post-life state of consciousness, whatever that might be. But getting back to what consciousness is for me, I can best describe it like this. I can read an article, and at the same time, I can be aware of the humming refrigerator in the background. And at the same time, I'm thinking about my wife who is working in the basement. I can feel the pain in my back, I can feel hungry, and at the same time, I can feel a slight anxiety because of what I'm reading. I can feel the seat that I'm sitting on. I can hear a dog barking outside. At the same time, I'm still reading the article and learning, and at the same time, all of this is happening at once. So consciousness is being awake, and it is also when I am asleep and dreaming. Yet I'm still that same person aware that I'm dreaming, if it is lucid. People who have been in comas with basic low brain functionality say that they were still aware of people in the room. Consciousness is something other than just the brain. It's something extra, it's something inexplicable, it's something we all share, and life would not be possible without it. In my opinion, everything is consciousness, even so-called inanimate things. Everything is connected, and everything somehow fits together like a puzzle fits together. According to science, everything we know about the universe tells us that reality consists only of physical things. It's made up of atoms and their component particles, busily colliding and combining. Above all, critics point out, if this non-physical, mental stuff did exist, how could it cause physical things to happen, as when the feeling of pain causes me to jerk my fingers away from the hot saucepan's edge? The problem is that there seems to be no logical reason to draw the line at dogs or sparrows or mice or insects, or for that matter, trees or rocks. Since we don't know how the brains of mammals create consciousness, we have no grounds for assuming that it's only the brains of mammals that do so, or even that consciousness requires a brain at all. The argument unfolds as follows. Physicists have no problem accepting that certain fundamental aspects of reality, such as space, mass, or electrical charge, just do exist. They can't be explained as being the result of anything else. Explanations have to stop somewhere. The hunch is that consciousness could be like that too, and that if it is, there is no particular reason to assume that it only occurs in certain kinds of matter. For me, the trouble is everyone gets it wrong. It's not about understanding what the puzzle represents as a whole. It's about inventing new pieces of the puzzle to accommodate our curiosity. It's about creation, which is what consciousness seems to be doing all the time, creating more and more new ways of experiencing this thing we call life. But there is a new theory that does not try to explain what consciousness or life is. It simply says that life or consciousness creates the universe, not the other way around. At first, when I read about biocentrism, I thought this was seriously far out there and really hard to grasp. But the more I read about it, the more I understand it, the more I realize this is truly the only way reality functions. And the question becomes no longer, what is life? It is, what can I do with life? Biocentrism looks at reality through the lens of biology, more so than through mathematics. What biocentrism tries to make us understand is that there is no independent external universe outside of biological experience. This might sound like a bizarre reality, because what we perceive as reality is a process that involves our consciousness. If there is no observer to collapse the quantum wave particles into something observable, then there is no independent reality out there. I know this is a tough one to get your head around, but biocentrism says that our understanding of the universe as a whole has reached a dead end. Science is constantly forced to jerry-rig its theories to fit our observations. It even turns out that the Big Bang has no answer for one of the greatest mysteries in the universe. Why is the universe exquisitely fine-tuned to support life? The more we pull apart the fundamentals of the universe, the less we understand. The more we see our bizarre reality, the more willing we are to explain it away. Biocentrism says that our current theories of the physical world don't work, and can never be made to work until they account for life and consciousness. Life and consciousness are absolutely fundamental to our understanding of the universe. There are many scientific observations and explanations in the theory of biocentrism. Each one does a mind-boggling job of proving that life creates the universe. But the scope of this article can't cover this, so I will leave it with one of the easiest, most demonstrable aspects of biocentrism. Newtonian science assumes that all creatures basically apprehend the same visually real object, which persists even if no eyes are upon it. Not so with biocentrism. Our experience of reality is comprised of the human senses internalizing a world that is actually made up of frequencies and energy fields. Our brain just interprets such as being a solid living reality, one we are conditioned to believe that is outside of us. The truth is, all of reality is happening within our consciousness. Example of a tree falling in the forest. Does it make a sound if no one is there to hear it? Science would say that the tree doesn't make a sound. It just pushes the air. If there is no observer with an ear and a brain to record the puffs of air vibrating in the ear, then a tree just makes air move when it falls. The trick to understanding this is to be able to remove yourself from the equation. This is hard for people to do because we immediately imagine ourselves being there as the tree falls. Everything in the visible universe only exists if there is consciousness to perceive it. Not all creatures perceive that sound the same way, or even the light of a candle the same way. Some animals will perceive the color of a yellow flame to be a gray flicker. The universe to each sentient of consciousness is a subjective experience, and it only becomes a shared reality when two or more people agree on something, and then the quantum wave collapses and becomes a quantum system. Now, biocentrism goes much deeper into this bizarre reality on a quantum level, but that is for a different article. Life is part of a bizarre reality that I believe we are creating through our watching consciousness. We invent language and science to invent theories of what life might be, or could be, or perhaps should be. This helps us to live fulfilling lives. It seems like it's up to us. We are creators.